In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, me and my brother James, we're going to talk about last night's performance from Noa Essengue and Ben Saraf, two guys that I think are potential lottery picks in the 2025 NBA Draft. They made the trip from Germany to play against the Portland Trail Blazers, and you'll hear our thoughts on how they performed and if they lived up to the hype and the expectations. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my brother James. And before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we are coming at you 5 days a week, and that's at the very minimum. I think we've done probably like 25, 26 episodes in like the last 28, 29, 30 days. I mean, we're on a crazy run right now. But anyway, let's talk about this game last night. Very interesting game. You had Ratiopharm Ulm coming from Germany. They're in season. They came across the pond to play against the Portland Trail Blazers. That's a long trip. Not only did they come from Europe to the United States, they went to the West Coast of the United States. So,
what direction do they fly?
I don't know. But long trip. And it was actually right on time in a sense, just because has two legitimate NBA prospects that I think should be in lottery consideration. Obviously, they have somewhat of an advantage, or maybe it could be considered a disadvantage because they've played and some of the top freshmen haven't played. But anyway, let's just talk about the game. First of all, what are your overall thoughts on these teams from Europe coming to play preseason games against NBA teams while they're in season? Like, what is?
I like it, man. It gives you a different look. You get a different look as far as athleticism, sometimes size. I highly doubt they've played against a point guard as fast as Scoot Henderson. So, like, that's a good look. And then for like the young guys, you know, you get an opportunity to boost your draft stock. And I don't know if that is what they do, they think of when they make these schedules, but it definitely works. And I mean, not only with like the Ulm team, we saw Kareem Lopez had an opportunity to play. So like I'm all for it. I think it's good. It's good for the game. It's good for growing the game. I just wish the Blazers probably would have had a better like camera angle, because that was tough to watch. But I think it's great. And it should continue to happen. It'd even be cool to like, I don't know, maybe do something like the top EuroLeague team. You do like a showcase. I would actually prefer that over the in-season tournament, but like you do something like a winter showcase where you take the top two teams from the EuroLeague, have them play, the Celtics and let's say the Lakers. Not to say the Lakers are the top two teams, but, you know, they're a flagship team, and see how it goes.
Where?
We could do it in, what's the neutral location?
In London or something like that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we go to Dubai to play some games.
Yeah, but we're not doing it. I mean, I guess you say like mid-season. I don't know. I mean, you probably have to put like a significant amount of money on the line. And then you figure
that ain't no issue for the NBA.
Do you go by FIBA rules? But anyway, that could be a fun subject to cover. Let's talk about Essengue. I've been calling him Essengue, but Essengue. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about the Blazers, or the lack of a broadcast team. There was no broadcast team. If you watched the game, you saw it was nobody. You just had to listen to the feed from inside the stadium. That it was hard to watch because every time Portland scored, there was a cutaway replay, and then by the time the camera switched back to Ulm, they're already like in their half court sets. It was literally like watching an NBA game at the game on the Jumbotron. You heard the stadium sounds. You heard all the music that the DJ was playing. I thought that was just a terrible look. It was hard to watch. If it wasn't for these two prospects, I would have turned it off at 11 minutes and 30 seconds into the game in the first quarter. My wife was like, "Are you sure you're watching the right channel?" I was like, "Yes." It was bad.
Yeah, man. I don't know how that happens, man. Like we should be far beyond that. That reminded me of when I watched the little homies high school tapes on Huddle, where you just hear the cheerleaders and the shoes squeaking and homeboys. Yeah, you hear parents, and then dude controlling the iPad forgets to move the iPad after a layup because he got caught up in the dunk. So, man, we gotta do better than that.
Yep. All right, Noah, what did you think about his performance? I personally thought he played well and did a lot for his draft stock. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. For a 17-year-old, I was impressed.
Yeah, I think in the last mock we had, I had him going in the top 10. I think it was 6. Was it 6? It was definitely 6 to Washington. So, I'm a fan of Essengue. Again, he might be stuck in between positions, but I think it's okay because he's a really good play finisher. I think the thing that stood out to me the most was that he is a much improved shooter, and he is shooting the ball with a lot of confidence. But again, he is a little bit stuck in between positions. Is he a 3? Is he a 4? I think he will be able to play the 4 because he is a very good athlete. And then you got to think he's 17 now, so he'll need to obviously put on some weight. But I think he'd be able to play the 4 as a rim finisher. And he did have a play. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was the Australian big, but he tried to back somebody down. He missed a turnaround jumper short. Again, that's probably a strength thing, but he shows flashes. He had a play. He tried to take off, and he missed the layup in transition. Like, he's definitely legit. But I think he's grown a lot since just the last year. Like I said, we saw him at Basketball Without Borders. He was just all right. He dominated the Adidas event that we went to in Dubai, but I think he missed 8, 9 free throws one game, and he wasn't making any jumpers. And in this game that he played last night, he looked like a confident 3-point shooter. So that's a big step for him. But even then, he's an improved shooter, but he's still I looked it up on the season with Ulm. He's still shooting 63% from the free throw line. And he's definitely got to get that up because he is somebody that gets fouled. He doesn't shy away from contact, but the shooting is improving. But again, he's 17, man. I think he should be a lottery pick for sure.
Yeah, right now I have him in my lottery. I have a big board that will be released on NBABigBoard.com. I'm just finishing up. It might come out tomorrow, but for sure by Monday. I have him in the lottery. But I thought he played well. 17 years old. He is thin, real thin, but he is what I like to call skinny tough. He's not afraid to throw his body around. Was trying to post up. I know the play you're talking about. He tried to post up.
Was that Reef?
I don't remember who it was. Again, it's hard to watch the game because there's no commentary. You don't know who's in. You don't even know the score. I had to go on my phone just to check the score and look at the stats. But I don't know who it was, but I know the player you're talking about. And also the layup he missed in transition looked like Connie Hawkins.
Right, he took off. He has a launching pad.
Now, Connie Hawkins was way before my time, but I've seen the highlights where he had to hose the ball in the air. I guess Larry Nance, the dad, used to finish like
Larry
that.
Nance Jr. catch your body the same way, at least once a week.
10 feet in the air, finger roll. But again, I was impressed with the shooting. The biggest knock on Essengue as far as from a scouting standpoint is he's not a good shooter. Some may say he's in between positions, and he's rail thin. I thought he showed, despite being thin, he is still productive, whether it's on the glass. He had 8 rebounds. He got to the free throw line, I want to say 6 times. Played the same exact way that he played, whether it's against 18-year-olds in a U18 tournament or against players in the German league or in the NBA game. Played the same way. I would say like he does most of his damage in the paint, but he hit 3 threes.
Yeah.
He hit 3 threes, let him fly. He was confident in shooting. And you have to factor in that it was the NBA 3-point line. So, I mean, I don't think he could have had a better showcase performance in front of NBA scouts. And again, he is 17 years old, probably the youngest player in the draft class. He'll turn 18 in December, but I've heard that he was born a little premature. He was supposed to be born in February. So he could easily be if he were born on the date that he was supposed to be born, he wouldn't even be eligible for this draft class. And I'm big on projecting guys who play really well against guys that are much older. And I think you have to factor in that he's extremely young. But there's quite a few guys in this draft. From Cooper Flagg is fairly young, Ace Bailey's fairly young. So anyway, I thought Singwa had a standout performance. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Ben Saraf, a guy that had a dominant FIBA U18s this summer. He's carried the momentum into the season. We'll talk about how he performed against the Portland Trailblazers. But before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. And if you are an NFL or NBA fan, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. And when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet, and that's at FanDuel.com. All right, Ben Saraf. Ben, again, his name has been buzzing as one of the top European prospects. We actually saw him play a basketball at Our Borders in February. I thought he was good. He didn't necessarily like stand out in a major way, but after that, it was up for him. Averaged 28 points per game at the U18s. He's 6'6", lead ball handler. I think that he's like this year's Nikola Topic in a sense, to where he entered the season, well, Topic had a dominant ANGT, so he had a little bit of buzz coming into last season, and then he won I forget which level. I think it was the U18s or whatever. He won that, had a little bit of buzz, but not a lot of people thought he was going to be a lottery pick, and I think he could have went top 5 if he didn't get hurt. Saraf is, in my opinion, trending in the same direction. Chose to stay in Europe, is playing on a team that is giving him the keys to the offense and minutes and time to develop and play through mistakes. And I think that's going to be very, very beneficial for his draft stock. He had 16 points against the Blazers. He really looked good in the first half. The second half was pretty quiet. But the concerns regarding him entering, this matchup, or even like just overall, is that he's a scorer. He's a big guard. He's a playmaker, but he struggles shooting. The mechanics aren't the cleanest. But he even made 3 threes. So I thought that he helped himself, especially in the first half.
Yeah, he shot the ball well from 3, but those 3 threes he made were catch and shoot threes. I think all 3 of them were in the corner. Maybe one of them might have been slightly below the break. Mm-hmm. Not the fastest guy, that doesn't matter, but he has really good pace. Makes all the right reads. But I do have like concerns. I think his jump shot off the dribble, he did hit one. I think it was on 8, and he hit him with a jab left. Shot a pull up. That looked good. But overall, his off the dribble shooting does need to improve a lot. He does have which is ironic, his favorite move is the James Harden move, where you keep it in your shooting hand, you fake the crossover and pick it up. He did miss one of those. He does that move basically all the time. He spams that one. But I had issues. My concerns with him going into this were, I guess you could say, on schedule, or you could see them last night. He doesn't really finish at the rim very well, especially to be at 6'6". He's an at the rim finisher, not above the rim by any means, and he just kind of struggles to finish at the rim. Even at I was at the under 18s where he dominated. he didn't shoot well at the rim. Again, he had the volume because he can obviously hoop, but I think his at the rim numbers are going to be a challenge for him, especially at the NBA level. And then as far as like him being, I think he's going to be at the next level very pick and roll dominant, meaning he's going to need a screen to get those paint touches. Now, he does take good angles, strong frame. When we saw him at Basketball Without Borders, he was hairy like me, and as an 18-year-old. So, but like there was a play I saw where he caught Donovan Clingan on the switch. Donovan Clingan is not the most fleet of foot guys, bigs you'll ever see, and he could not get by Clingan. Clingan blocked the
Clingan can
shot.
move his feet, though. Clingan knows how to move his feet.
He
If he
can move his
defended in
feet
space, he wouldn't have been a 7th pick.
downhill. He can move his feet. Like in a tight gap, I don't think in a tight gap he can stay in front of, for the sake of this argument, like a Trayor, like he was able to stay in front of, or even Dylan Harper. I don't think he can stay in front of those guys. But shout out to Clingan, that was a very good play. But he's like 55% at the rim, even over there in Germany. And I have him as a 30% off the dribble jumper shooter going into this game. So it's like those are, to me, going to be the two biggest things. Him being really pick and roll dominant or screen dominant is fine because, I mean, he's a very good passer, and he's going to make the right play. So I can trust him in a two-man game. But he's going to have to get, improve, especially, late shot clock. What is he going to do? Is he going to be able to beat guys off the dribble? There was another play. Was it Blanton? He couldn't beat Blanton off the dribble either, and he threw up a tough shot. So, but again, this isn't negative. He's really, really good. And I mean, even he had an okay performance. He finished with 16 last night.
Yeah. Any concerns about the turnovers? He had 4 turnovers compared to just 2 assists.
Yeah, see, some of those turnovers where he got caught up trying to make a play because he couldn't turn the corner. So, I mean, the turnover is going to be there. I don't necessarily think he is a point guard. You know what I'm saying? Like a lead ball handler in the NBA. He might end up being a secondary ball handler, but I mean, the turnovers they're going to be an issue regardless because, again, he does get in the air to pass a lot. I know some people don't like that, but I just don't think he has the foot speed to get by guys, and he gets caught up in the air trying to make a play.
How much do you think his lack of strength, and the same with Essengue, is, impacts, their game on certain, especially like finishing at the rim as far as efficiency?
See, I don't think he is lacking strength. I don't think him lacking strength and Essengue's lacking strength are like night and day. Like Essengue doesn't even have his man body yet. I think Ben Saraf has his man body. I just think that
not at 18. I mean, I think he
can get stronger, but he is cut up. Like we saw him in person. Like he definitely looks the part. If you'd have told me he was 21, 22, I'd have believed you.
Yeah, but even guys at 18 that look strong aren't necessarily strong. I mean, there's grown man strength that you get with age. And sometimes I feel like even when guys are young and they look cut up, as we call them air muscles, there's no density in those muscles. And I think you can see that he looks it's weird. You can see that when he gets bumped, he can get bumped off of his path a little bit. And so I think he'll definitely need to get stronger. The finishing at the rim thing is tricky because there's 2 ways to look at it. And you can even, say it in the college game and the European game. Some guys could be better finishers in the NBA, even though the athleticism is higher. It's just there's more spacing in the NBA. In Europe, the man can stay in the paint the whole time. I mean, imagine how impactful someone like Donovan Clingan would be if he could just stand in the paint the whole possession.
Yeah,
so
that's why he got drafted so high, because he could stand in the paint. I mean, not why he got drafted, but that helped him out because he had to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah,
I think the finishing, I get what you're saying, but a lot of the finishing is getting by that first guy so you can get that one-on-one matchup. I can't recall, and I'm not going to sit here and say I've seen every play, but maybe he needs to add that floater in between instead of trying to get all the way to the rim. And again, because I personally think he's so physically developed, you can always get to the rim and you don't have to use your floater because I'm there. I'm basically is big or bigger than everybody else. But at this next level, I think he needs to add a floater. But part of that is more so him just, I mean, he takes really good angles, but I think he might need to be like a 2-foot stop guy instead of an at the rim guy more often.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about the developmental path for both prospects. We're going to talk about areas that we think they need to work on to improve their draft stock, and then also just talk about their overall draft range and maybe some teams that would be a good fit. Before we get into the last segment, let's talk about our new sponsor. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. The process is 100% online, and there's no need for those uncomfortable doctor visits. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, and Cialis, and their generics up to 90% cheaper. All you have to do is answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If you are prescribed, your medication ships directly to you. It's in discreet packaging, and it is for free. You don't need insurance, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. And they have hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers. Hims can help you find the ED option that helps and works for you. So you can start your free online visit today at hims.com/locked-on. That is HIMS.com/locked-on for your personalized ED treatment options. Again, hims.com/locked-on. All right, last segment. Let's talk about areas of development. And I agree 100%. I think Saraf needs to become more efficient at the floater. I think that he is going. I agree. I think that he is going to need screens to get in the paint. I do feel like he has the size to be able to shoot over the top of smaller defenders, and so I think like becoming a dead-eye mid-range pull-up shooter and having just an efficient soft touch finish or floater package in the paint would help him as a scorer. As far as a single eye, it's interesting, man. Like, he is probably one of the more unique prospects in recent memory, simply because he's productive. It doesn't matter the level of play, whether it's the U18s, for the French national team, whether it's playing at the Adidas Next Generation tournament, whether it's playing professionally, and even in this NBA setting, he's been productive at every single stop. And you can still say there are a lot of holes in his game, which is why I'm really, really high on his upside. Because number one, I think some of those misses are going to be makes once he gets stronger. I saw him listed at like 194 pounds, and I think that's been very, very generous.
6'9", 6'10", 190.
He might be 6'10", 170. He is, like when he wears the short shorts. And so even when you like see him, it's like his calf and his thigh muscle looks like they're the exact same size. But again, he plays tough. He tries to post up. He's not afraid of contact.
He will dunk on you.
He will dunk you. But the way he gets to the foul line and generates those trips with that thin frame, it just makes me think about, all right, what happens when he gets to 220? What happens when he gets to 225? Again, he's only 17. So even if he just adds 5 pounds a year, which, is very easy, but 5 pounds a year, when he gets 22, I think he's going to be tough. So you have that. You have the shooting. Even though he's like trending in the right direction, the shooting could improve. The ball handling could definitely improve. I don't have a comparison for him because he's just such a unique prospect, because it's like when you watch him play, I don't even know what the scouting report says to take away other than put a body on him. It's not like he's playing iso ball. It's not like he's, dominating on post-ups. Some of the points he creates just off playing the passing lanes. He had a play yesterday where he got a steal and got a transition finish.
He is always playing the passing lanes. I feel like every time I look at a box score, he has 2 to 3 steals, and then when you go look at the film, it's a steal he got in the passing lane that he turned into a fast break dunk. Like he does that all the time.
Yeah. And so again, I'm just saying, like, the guy is super productive, but there's so many areas that he can improve. Like, I don't even know, like, what is his greatest strength right now, other than the fact that he's
Motor.
active, he draws fouls, and he finishes around the paint. You add strength, an improved jumper, even like a pull-up jumper, even like a bag in a sense. Like, he doesn't even have like a bag as far as just like offensive creativity off the dribble. I mean, I saw a play where he like drove left and then he kind of like didn't necessarily beat Rupert off the dribble, but turned it into like a mini back down and then had a right hand floater. He just puts the ball in the basket. What do you think is the main area that he needs to work on?
I think because he's such a chameleon on offense, I think the main thing really should be the strength. Uh, he is very athletic, not Jalen Johnson athletic, but he's an athlete. We talked about him taking off in transition. Uh, his thing is, if he's not dunking, he's not as good at the rim, and I think that is because he doesn't have strength. So again, I pulled up the numbers at Ulm right now through I think it's 5 or 6 games. He's at 44% on layups, and that's not acceptable for. Again, I know he's 17, playing as grown men, but 44%, it needs to be better. I think that has a lot to do with his lack of strength. Again, 17 years old, he looks like a little kid in the face. He might even have a fadeaway mustache that might rinse off in the rain, but like he's got to get stronger. The jump shot is really improving. He was like a non-shooter, and even then the free throw percentage is still low, but he was like a non-shooter when we saw him, and now he's like confidently taking not just corner threes, but like above the break threes. So that's going to be good. I think he's a hybrid 3-4, maybe even like a Sean Marion in a sense.
That's the only comparison I can think of. That is the only comparison I can think of with Sean Marion. Because even with Sean Marion, like I said, if there's a scouting report,
What is the scouting report?
take away, put a body on him, keep him. I mean, I don't think he's as pogo stick bouncy as Marion.
No.
But you know what? It's funny because I always said Marion is a one of one. Like, there'll never be another.
Is he in the Hall of Fame? He should be.
Well, if Chauncey Phillips made it, but I guess Chauncey won a championship.
He won a championship with the Mavs, right?
That is true.
Yeah, but Chauncey has a Finals MVP though. He doesn't have a Finals.
Yeah,
MVP. But like Marion is like he was before Draymond as far as disrupting the game at a position where we're like, okay, I don't know what position he plays. He's throwing it off because he blocks shots, he gets steals, he guards the best perimeter player, and then he hits threes. I think a single I can do that at some point in his career. Now, will he have that little flip shot that Marion had? No, but he might have something where it just works. Where like I said, you just don't know what you're going to get. He does remind me of maybe a Sean Marion type, where he's a forward and he could play 3-4 guard threes, fours. He's legit. Like I said, I had him going 6 in my mock, man. Shout out to me.
Yeah, another thing I failed to mention in the first segment was I thought he really impressed as a passer. He had 3 assists, nothing like crazy creative out of ball screens, but his ability to drive and kick is very basic, but he was making the right reads in the right place. He's the type of player that can get a rebound and run, push the ball up court. You have to respect the drive, because if he gets to his launching pad, he can take off, draw 2 defenders, kick it out to the man in the corner. And so I do think there's even upside for him as a ball mover. Again, I like him. 17 years old, has some areas that he needs to improve on, but he's such a unique prospect because he's productive just off motor, energy, length, athleticism. And if he just adds, some strength and consistent shot, I even want to see him become like a pull-up shooter. Even if it's just like 2 dribble, elevate over the top and pull up, I think he's going to be a dangerous option.
I really like the move. He didn't make the shot where he faced the guy up in the corner. I'm going to say it was Duran Reith. I can't remember who it was. Bald headed brother with a headband. But
Taze Moore?
It had to have been Taze Moore because he wasn't as big as Reith. Yeah, it was Taze Moore. Taze Moore is a super athletic guy, and he went, sized him up, hit him with the 2 dribble, back down, backed up. He moved him as much as he physically could. He put all 180, 190 into those back downs, and he shot a turnaround jumper. Like, that looks like Pascal Siakam to me, where, Pascal is too good off the dribble for 4s, and then when you put a 3 on him, he gets physical, and then he can post up. So, man, I've been a fan of Asingwa. So I wasn't – he left me impressed, but at the same time, like, he's productive, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him and Dubai. I forgot the numbers, but it was like 33 points, 19 rebounds.
He missed like 8 free throws that game.
Yeah, that was probably one of the more dominant performances I've seen on the youth level. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA season previews on Locked On NBA, from the East to the West, from the contenders to the pretenders. This 6-episode series covers everything you need to know about the upcoming NBA season. You can find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Once again, it's Rafael and James Barlowe, and we are out of here.